Tonight on Real News from the Blaze, some people say that the president has lost his grip on supporters, surrogates, and even his message. SC, what's going on?
Yeah, James Carville does not like the Obama campaign's messaging, and he thinks it's not working. Is this helpful advice or yet another Democrat betrayal? And is he right? We'll talk about all of that tonight.
All right, all that and much more on Real News from the Blaze coming up in just 60 minutes.
This is not going to be about politics. This is about principles. We're going to take it upon ourselves to be part of the solution.
We are going to restore history, restore our honor, restore his idea that character is what matters.
Let us not lose this battle because we sat down.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck Program and the network that you are building. Thank you so much. It's GBTV. And welcome to the first ever National Lemonade Stand Bake Sale Hug-a-thon. Well, we've had some hugs today. We're in Cedar Hills, Texas at Babe's Chicken Dinner House. Chicken Dinner House. For a couple of reasons. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They may have or may not have a ton of chicken and pie and everything else inside. I'm not sure. I haven't had any of that yet. And two, we're here because I think government regulation sucks. And we have to stop complaining about things and start doing something about what we believe in. We've had enough of the overbearing nanny state regulations that are so out of control that a kid now in America can't even sell lemonade for a nickel a cup unless, and I'm not kidding you, they've attained in some cities a $200 business permit, a $200 peddler permit, and of course a food permit. Some in California are actually being required to become a restaurant and then go to school before they just make cupcakes or lemonade. It's great, isn't it? Our kids only have to sell about 12,000 cups of lemonade a day just to break even. No wonder the next generation of students don't want to go into business for themselves. If things are this bad with a little lemonade stand, how bad will it be for real businesses? And if regulation doesn't kill you, as we pointed out last night in my new book, Cowards, the school system will. The percentage of students who hope to own a successful business actually drops significantly after attending college. A lemonade stand is and always has been the basic, most innocent form of capitalism. It is, it's the gateway drug for our kids, the first interaction with the free market. The first thing that has to happen that we as kids say, wait a minute, I can go make something that somebody wants on a hot day, and they'll buy it because they need it, they want it, I've made it, and I'll be able to purchase something or save money or help somebody else with the money I make. This is the entryway for our system. It makes sense that a out-of-control government would want to shut it down. Today, we're in Texas to draw a line in the sand. We're standing up for who we are really as Americans. I refuse, as one, to have my identity erased and our country's identity erased and rewritten as some white flag-waving, socialist-loving, valueless, morally bankrupt European wannabe nation. That's not who we are, nor is that who we want to be. We came to this land for a reason. I'm an American, and so are you. We're people who tamed the West. We're the people that when German U-boats were attacking American shores off of Long Island, regular citizens risked their own lives and their own fortune. They used their own boats for surveillance. We're the people who went to the moon while hippies were rolling around in the mud. We're the people who innovate and dream and are able to do something about that dream because we have a limited government. We're the people who give the world a place to run when they're in search of a better life. We're the people who stormed the beaches of Normandy. We're the people who run into burning buildings, not out of burning buildings. We're the people who valiantly fight time and time again and say things like, "Remember the Alamo," when facing certain death. The cause of liberty and freedom, the cause of being able to chart your own course, is what we as Americans, we as people, are really all about. We are a beacon to the rest of the world, and yet it seems like our culture, our government, and the rest of the world wants us to be ashamed of who we are. Today, why don't we celebrate what it means to be an American? I personally think Americans have had enough of hearing about how bad we are. We've had 4 years and then some. I'm tired. I'm done. I don't think we want to be fundamentally transformed into something else. We'd like to restore ourselves to who we truly are. Obama's latest polling numbers reflect the vision of a fundamentally transformed America is losing support all over America. But what's really striking today are the numbers that are coming out in the most unlikely of places. In the last month, this president's support among Jewish people in New York City have dropped 10%. In North Carolina, Obama's support among African American voters is down 11%. The president's approval rating among African Americans overall is down now 9%. These are staggering numbers. These are the main groups that got him elected, along with another big concern for the president, the youth vote. There are sharp declines now in youth voter registration in key battleground states. Translation, it's not so cool for Obama and to vote for Obama this time around. 4 million people reach the age of 18 every single year. In 2008, this president preached hope and change to that group. Today, that group is disenfranchised, the very people that voted for him. With students unable to get jobs after college, youth unemployment now at 12.1%, he doesn't attract the same people. They're disenfranchised. The conservatives, unfortunately, didn't attract these people. Voters under 29 hate the system. They see through the left and right game, and they're disengaging. That's a problem. That's why we have to start as people being for something and not the Republicans or the Democrats. We can't just be against something or a personality or a party. We have to be for something bigger than a party or a person. And we have to deliver this message now with more than just words, but with actions. As George Washington said, deeds, not words. Tonight, we're going to take another step and spit ourselves out of the system. I asked you last week to register to vote. That's step 2. Activate yourself and get others to activate. But tonight it's about step 3 and 4. Live it. Be who you really are. And then create. Reclaim our culture by creation. Tonight I'm pleased to announce that hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of lemonade stands and bake sales are happening all around the country. They started early in the morning, all the way on the East Coast, and they'll be going late at night all the way to the shores of California. We're going to solve our problems as a country, not in Washington. We're going to solve them ourselves. We're in this little town in Texas because that's the way they solve things in Texas. In little towns, they all get together and help each other out. They don't wait for the city or the state or the government to do it. They do it. We're going to have to not only relearn this, teach this to our children, but we're also going to have to keep it going. Because those who want to fundamentally transform us are not stopping either, no matter what happens in November. Today, Mayor Mike Bloomberg, on the heels of announcing his proposed soda ban, his board says they're now looking into formally introducing the soda ban idea to expand it into other foods. One board member says, you know, the popcorn at movie theaters isn't a whole lot better than the soda. Another said, there are certainly milkshakes and milk coffee beverages that have monstrous amounts of calories. If you enjoy a big tub of popcorn, or if you like to go to Starbucks, look out. And remember, it all started with trans fats, and everybody was against trans fats, and surely it wouldn't be a slippery slope. Tell me that in New York City when you can't get a latte grande. Pardon me for just a minute while I thank the good Lord in heaven that I now live in Texas. Soda, popcorn, and milkshakes. By the way, 3 out of my 4 food groups, M&Ms being the 4th. It wasn't always like this. And what's worse than Bloomberg and the First Lady running around trying to tell us what we can and cannot eat is now the government taking the extra step and telling us who we can and cannot feed. Mayor Mike Bloomberg was really one of the first that came onto my radar. He banned food donations to government-run homeless shelters. You can't donate food? What, is the city so flush with cash? The city wants to assess the nutritional content of food. God forbid we give anybody hungry a tub of popcorn and a latte grande. Apparently the mayor would rather have people go hungry than have a little too much sodium. In Philadelphia, they now want the homeless fed indoors. See, they used to feed them in the parks. People would come, ministries would come and feed people in parks. No, not anymore. This is a tradition in Philadelphia. Now the city wants it in specially zoned parts of the city only, in places the city approves, away from the tourists that might see them. I'm telling you, I've just been in Poland in the last 12 months. It's starting to sound more and more familiar to have people put in special sections where nobody can see them when it comes to how many calories we feed people. Is this to hide the fact that there are homeless people in the city? What's happening in Philadelphia? In Washington State, my home state, the Department of Health has now banned homemade food from all donations to homeless shelters and food distribution sites. The state actually said, don't worry, throw the food away. If you have leftovers, if there's something left in the kitchen here at a restaurant, throw it away. Instead of giving it to the homeless, you're not wasting, you're, and I quote, actually protecting the at-risk hunger community that we help feed, end quote. In Morristown, New Jersey, in Delaware, in Arizona, in Illinois, they're reclassifying food donation centers and soup kitchens now as restaurants. What does that mean? Well, it'll mean more tax revenue for the cities because you're going to have the places get inspected and get permits. You're going to have to hire consultants to tell you how to redesign your kitchens to pass those inspections. They have to meet all kinds of new expensive regulations for the homeless. You know why they can do it to the homeless? Because the homeless has no voice. They're not a constituency that anybody really cares about. And the people who do care about them either are the right kind of people or they're the politicians, the wrong kind of people. They're making service harder for Americans to do, be it because they're out of control, power-hungry monsters, or they're just cities that are addicted to tax dollars. They are training us to rely on government to do things for us. People are in need, right? Wealth is down now 40% in 3 years in this country. That's staggering. We can't afford to abdicate our responsibilities any more than we already have. And what's more, we've retracted and we've regrouped. We pulled back for a while just to be able to stabilize. We're stable now. It's time now not to be against something, but to be for something. Push back out with goodness and love and decency. Teach your children, teach them to do good, to raise money for someone that might be struggling or having a difficult time or a more difficult time than even they are. Even if you don't do a bake sale or a lemonade stand today, do one this summer. If you have kids, I want you as a family to go to the 4 steps at glennbeck.com. Commit. Really discover what it is you believe in. Then activate. Do the things that will keep you involved. Do the things that you have to do to be involved. Then live it. What are your principles? You believe in helping people? You believe in small government? Then you have to give to charity yourself. And the 4th one is create. Start a business. Create art, create music, create what is it that you are supposed to be doing. I'm going to go to Pat and Stu now. They're here, but not for me. They're out for the cookies. And they're out with the lemonade stands just around the corner. Guys,
Yes, Glenn, like climbing Mount Everest or crossing the fire swamp, Pat and I are about to do one of the most dangerous things that are known to humankind. We are about to drink unregulated lemonade. Right over here to the right is a sign, and it says very clearly, eat and drink at your own risk. The person running this, Darrow is her name. She has no licenses, no permits, no certifications, no health codes, no tax ID number, no EPA environmental impact study. She has no state business permit, and she is not holding back any taxes quarterly to pay in advance, of course, or a local vendor's certificate. She apparently claims to be 9 years old and just wants a puppy.
This may be the dangerous thing we've ever done in our lives, and I'm about to speak to this criminal, this wanton criminal who is here. Darrow, have you ever done a lemonade stand before?
Yes.
You have. And how much money did you make with that lemonade stand?
I don't remember. I had to put it up really soon.
Okay. Now, you say you don't have any permits, you don't have any tax ID number, you did none of that with the city before you came here?
Nope.
Do you feel pretty guilty about that?
Nope.
Good answer. Good answer, Darrow. Now, you don't have any sugar in any of these products, do you?
Yes, I do.
Are there any calories in the cupcakes or cookies?
Yes.
How do you live with yourself?
I just do.
What are you charging for your lemonade here today?
50 cents a cup.
50 cents a cup. All right. And do all the proceeds go to... Now, I see you also want a puppy, it says on your sign. How much of the proceeds go to charity?
It depends on how much you have.
Okay. Let's say we have $100. How much goes to the puppy? How much goes to charity?
I would say 75 to charity and the rest to me.
Okay. 75-25 split. I can live with that. Now, how much is the puppy?
The puppy is $110.
$110. All right. And the lemonade is 50 cents a glass, right? All right. If I have $1,000, how many glasses can you give me?
That's hard.
I'll tell you what, just give me one and keep the change.
Wow, that's a donation coming in from Glenn and Tanya themselves. What kind of lemonade do we want? I would like...
I don't want any of that dangerous lemonade. Yeah, I don't want any of it.
I'll take no more than 957 glasses. Can you just start pouring? I'll take 300 of each or so. Glenn, I think you've made a 9-year-old criminal very happy here today.
Make sure she gets the puppy, and the rest of it goes to charity. That's fantastic.
Yep, she gets the puppy, and then she, of course, pockets the rest. So it's very nice, very nice.
We're not in Philadelphia anymore. Thanks, guys. All right, government is strangling our entrepreneurial spirit, shutting down lemonade stands and bake sales. And it is things that have been happening for years and years and years. Now red tape is getting involved. Right before the start of the Boston Marathon, a couple of friends in Boston or in Massachusetts decided to run a lemonade and bake sale stand. They did it to raise money for charity, and they hosted it at one of their driveways. They stayed up all night baking. They put everything up. They had it all ready to go, and then a health inspector drove by. They were busted for not having a proper permit. ELIZA WESTBURY and Ella CORNU here with ELIZA's mother, Jeannie. How are you guys? Welcome.
Good. We're doing good. Thanks for having us.
So, first of all, you know the history. I mean, how long has this been happening?
We've been doing the bake sale for like a lot. We've been doing it for maybe the 3rd year.
Well,
that I've been
12
doing
years we've had a lemonade.
Yeah, and I just started doing it. Yeah.
Okay, and it's always gone to like cancer or something like that.
Well, actually, this is the first year because I had my Relay for Life team, but that's like a cancer fund.
Okay.
Yeah. The last year was for my son was going to Cooperstown with his baseball team, so
Okay,
it's
so
always a meeting to raise money for something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it would be wrong to, raise money to buy a puppy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, you put everything out.
Yeah.
And what happened?
So the Board of Health, this man comes over and he says, "Oh, hi, I'm from the Board of Health." He hands me his card. And he says, "You don't have..."
He hands it to you, seriously?
Yeah, Miss Westbury wasn't even outside. He hands it to me. He says, "You don't have a proper permit. You need to bring everything inside."
What did you say?
I was really confused. I didn't know what to do, and I was kind of just like, well, okay. And we kind of like ran inside and we told Miss Westbury.
And then what happened?
Then another girl showed up with her 3 trays, you know, ready to sell her stuff. And we had to tell her and her parents that they'd been shut down and we weren't allowed to sell anything.
Did you guys talk to the city? Did you, by the way, anybody who says it's hot in Texas, they're liars.
So hot.
I know. So then
well,
what
there
happened?
were no town offices open that day because it was Patriots Day and the marathon.
Yeah.
But I did follow up about a week or so later to find out what it would cost to get a permit. And I was pretty much told that it would be astronomically expensive. I would have to have food handlers, licensed food handlers, my kitchen inspected, jump through all this red tape for anybody to sell anything out of my home.
What did you say to them?
I said it was terribly sad, and I guess I would not be going down that road. And he said it kind of takes the fun out of being a kid these days.
So even he knew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, are you done?
I don't think so.
We're going to keep on
trying. We're going to keep going, I would assume.
Well, people have said to me that if you're on your own property and if you have a jar that's just labeled donations, you're not selling anything and anybody has a right to come on your property, buy a cookie, and drop a quarter in the bin. That's what people are telling me.
Yeah.
So.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Well, who knew you needed an attorney at your age?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Apparently.
Thanks. All right, now, here's the thing. You notice the solution there was, I've heard that we can get around it by yada, yada, yada. That's the problem with all of this. We're using up all of our ingenuity to get around the things that we all know in common sense are foolish. That's what has to stop. Raj Nair is out. He has the toughest job of the day. He is surrounded by baked goods and stuck talking to Kylie Bassetti, a former Victoria's Secret model. So it kind of sucks to be you today, Raj.
I know, it's a tough job. I've been eating chicken and talking to Kylie. No, she's really cool. And like everyone else here, you know, she didn't compromise, she didn't conform, and she actually flew here all the way from Montana. So why is it important for you to be here?
It's just so important to me. I love the cause. As a child, I actually had multiple lemonade stands, and I really learned a lot from it, and I don't want those rights to be taken away from the children.
Now, when you hear that there's lemonade stands and bake sales going all over the country and all these people here doing that, what's that say to you?
It's just amazing. I love that a group of Americans will come together for the cause and not want to give up their rights. It's just awesome. It's a good thing.
Now, you're helping out with Mercury One, right? What exactly are you doing?
Well, I'll be modeling some of the t-shirts, and I'm going to be doing a lemonade stand out in Montana this summer as well to help out.
So you're modeling 1791. Can I see your 1791 pose?
Only if you do it with me.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna cross our arms. All right, it's all in the eyes. You gotta be fierce.
On 3.
All right,
3.
1, 2, 3.
Good?
Really
is that pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah, like blue steel? Not bad.
Not bad.
And you're also going to be at Restoring Love, right?
Yes, I will. I'm very excited about that.
And do you know what you're doing there yet?
I think I'm going to be talking to some of the ladies and children, so I'm really excited, yeah.
Now, speaking of the children here, you know, you've done something that maybe wasn't the easiest thing to do. And, you know, you're giving back to the community, you're doing a lot. So what advice might you have for some of the youngins here?
I would just say be courageous, be bold, and there's a lot you can do in your community. You know, help out, donate your time.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and we will be right back.
Thanks, Raj. I have to tell you.
Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Cowards. A new book from Glenn Beck. The Lies End Now. On sale everywhere books are sold.
I have to tell you, I have so much respect for Kylie. I think she is one of the bravest women. I mean, here's a woman who had an astounding career, something that everybody who is in the modeling business would strive for and work their whole life for. And she had it. She was at the top, and she said, morally, I disagree with it. I've changed inside, and she throws it away. She's a remarkable woman. Our underwriter this half hour is Goldline. I don't know how much gold we have in Fort Knox. I don't know how much gold. Personally, I think all the gold is down in the basement of the Fed in New York City, but I could be wrong. Maybe that was just a Nicolas Cage movie. I'm not really sure. But I want you to please call Goldline and find out if gold or silver is right for you. It's not right for everybody, but I don't want you to wait until the very last minute. If you saw the news today coming again out of Europe, Italy is just tanking now. That's the latest. It's going to snowball. It's only a matter of time. And when I start reading things like I read last night, I think it was on the Business Insider, I started reading a story about what do you do, where do you put your money when money is being confiscated? I swear to you, and that was for other countries in Europe. They're talking about how do I get my money out of a country? It's crazy. Please find out if gold is right for you. Do it now. Goldline, 1-866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. Back in a minute.
Preparation, focus, hard work. It's a personal commitment. It's what drives me. It gives me the confidence to look my opponent in the eye and say, game on. Preparing for life's future challenges is just as important. Food Insurance Emergency Food Supply gives me the same assurance that I'm ready for whatever comes my way. Preparation is everything. Order today at foodinsurance.com.
Thinking of buying window blinds from a jack of all trades?
Take a right at the garden gnomes, then a left at the squirrel feeders. You'll see some store maps. That should guide you to where the blinds are located.
At Blinds.com, all we do is blinds. Our experts help from selection to installation, and for a lot less than retail. For a limited time, use code GBTV for an additional 10% off already discounted prices. Blinds.com.
The establishment has tried and failed to copy the FreedomWorks model. Why? Because they don't understand how freedom works. So while they were sleeping, we were planning our hostile takeover. It's about the politics of we the people. So get a copy of Hostile Takeover and learn how to take back your liberty today. Get your exclusive excerpt before the book goes on sale by going to www.hostiletake.com.
Do you struggle to read the keys on your regular keyboard? Are you constantly hitting the wrong keys by accident? Then you need Easy Eyes, the new large print keyboard that makes typing easy on your eyes. This one-of-a-kind keyboard is even spill-proof. Watch as we pour this entire glass of water over the keys. The liquid drains right out, and the keys work just like before. You could pay more than $60 for a keyboard of this quality, and you'd still struggle to see the keys. But call now, and the Easy Eyes large print keyboard is yours for only $14.95. We'll even include this matching ergonomic mouse, a $30 value, yours free. But order right now and we'll double the offer and give you a second Easy Eyes keyboard and the ergonomic mouse for the amazing low price of just $14.95. Just pay separate processing and handling. Call and order yours today.
To order Easy Eyes for $14.95, call 1-800-650-2373 or order online at GetEasyEyes.com.
Coming up on Real News tonight, the Supreme Court could announce its decision on Obamacare at any moment. It's due this month in June, but Mitt Romney, well, he's not waiting. Buck, what has he got?
Mitt Romney said that he will repeal and replace Obamacare. And in fact, yesterday on the campaign trail, he sketched out his free market approach to health care reform. So we're going to hash it out, try to get a sense of whether this could actually contain costs and could it work?
All right, that's up next on Real News from the Blaze right after Glenn at 6 o'clock.
That's, I don't know if you can hear that. That's the riffraff on the other side of the fence. Let them eat cake. And a few cupcakes, too. There's a nonprofit group out, Lemonade Day. It teaches kids how to effectively own and operate their business using a lemonade stand. Michael Holthouse is the co-founder of Lemonade Day. 16-year-old daughter Lissa is the inspiration for the group. They're coming up from Houston, and I asked him, how are you wearing a jacket in this heat? And then I remembered you're from Houston. So this is winter, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Tell me, first of all, I mean, 6 years ago, was it just to teach your daughter and others about entrepreneurial spirit, or did you kind of see this over the horizon?
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and when I sold my company to Sprint a number of years ago, I started searching for what could I do to have a bigger impact in the world. So I started looking around, what are the big concerns? And to me, we are teaching our youth. We're teaching them academics, but we're not teaching them the social and emotional skills, the life skills that they need to be truly successful in life. So we started a company called Prepared for Life, and we're out teaching kids entrepreneurship, the American dream, how they can become anything they want to become.
You know, I was just reading to the audience yesterday about how you get into you get into college, and by the end of college, you don't have the goal of being successful and wealthy anymore. You don't have the goal of, I mean, it drops by 10 points in each category. That you don't see starting a business or running a business as a priority anymore.
They're all looking at, where's my job? Well, where jobs are created by entrepreneurs, and those entrepreneurs, those businesses grow larger and larger, and that's why America's been so great. If we lose entrepreneurship, we lose the America that we know and love.
But don't you find that funny that we're training people, the same group, the college professors that hate the capitalist system are training people just to have a job, and they're not doing a poor job of it. They're not training people to survive on their own. They're not teaching people how to not have to have a job, not have to work for the man. It's amazing. What they preach, they're teaching the exact opposite.
It is, it's really crazy. What created the greatest nation in the world, here in the United States, is the fact that free enterprise, capitalism, we can make decisions about what we want to do and pursue our dreams and make them come true.
So 6 years ago, your dad came to you and said, what?
Well, I came to him and said...
You came to him?
I said, Dad, I want a turtle. He said no. So after that, I said,
Good call on that. I just have to shake your hand.
Okay.
Good job.
What do you do with a turtle?
I know, yeah.
So I had this great idea to start a lemonade stand. And my friend and I, we made it. And after the day was gone, we got some money. My dad sat me at the kitchen table and said, you know what, like, this is profit, this is the revenue, but then took all of my money away and said, I need you to pay me back for all of the cups, all of the capital.
Yeah.
And so it was a really great learning experience for both of us.
So wait a minute. You took all of it?
No.
You took a percentage.
She confused revenues and profits as being the same thing. So we had a conversation about this evil thing called expenses. And so we charged her for, use of the stuff.
How angry were you with your dad?
I was so mad.
I bet
he
you
took
were.
all of my money.
Right.
All of it.
So but enough to you bought a boat or what? It's a lemonade stand. How much did you make? Do you remember?
Well, I think I made about $20, and then I had to give it some back to him. But then for my poster, he paid me money for the poster.
An outside investor wanted to buy a piece of the capital equipment of her corporation.
That's great.
I wanted to buy her sign, which I still have today.
Good for you. Good for you. So what did you learn then? You learned the difference between revenue and profits.
Exactly.
And what do you take from it today?
I think the biggest impact that Lemonade Day has is teaching the kids to make a goal, to understand how to achieve that goal, and then empowering them to make them know that they can do anything that they really want. And then my dad always says, do you teach a man to buy a fish, or do you teach them to fish? And I think that's the greatest lesson that Lemonade Day has, because it teaches the youth to go out and make their own business and teach them what America's about.
You know, first of all, good job. Good job. Congratulations. Second of all, real quick, I mean, aren't you amazed that we have a society where the youth understand YouTube, they understand create something, put it up, and it's consumed.
Yeah.
But they don't connect that with capitalism. That's exactly, you're creating a product that people want, they consume it, you get more hits.
Yeah.
Same thing with dollars, and there's a fundamental disconnect. Thank you.
It's important that we teach the nation.
It is, and we will. We'll be a little early. We won't be behind the curve. We won't be behind the curve next time, and we'll join you next year on National Lemonade Day.
It's crazy how this thing's taken off.
It
We're
is.
now in 36 cities, 150,000 registered youth across the country.
Good.
Thanks.
We'll be there next year. Back in a minute.
We are huggers, yes we are. We like to hug both near and far. If you hug us, you will see we smell like chicken, yes sirree.
Thinking of buying window blinds from a jack of all trades?
Take a right at the garden gnomes, then a left at the squirrel feeders. You'll see some store maps. That should guide you to where the blinds are located.
At Blinds.com, all we do is blinds. Our experts help from selection to installation, and for a lot less than retail. For a limited time, use code GBTV for an additional 10% off already discounted prices. Blinds.com.
Bringing a firearm into your home is one of the most important decisions you can make. If you are considering gun ownership, CheaperThanDirt.com is here to help you make a responsible and informed choice. We understand it is a personal decision how you choose to protect your family. We offer thousands of choices of firearms, ammunition, and accessories to suit your individual needs. Be responsible, be proactive, and exercise your Second Amendment right. Find us online at CheaperThanDirt.com. That's CheaperThanDirt.com.
Tatler Reusable Canning Lids. Family owned since 1976. That's right, Tatler Reusable Canning Lids. Yes, reusable, with a lifetime guarantee. Made in America, BPA free. Tatler Reusable Canning Lids. Because those who can, do. Get rid of the disposable lid. Go to reusablecanninglids.com. Tatler Reusable Canning Lids.
Is your nonstick pan a sticking nightmare? Don't live in fear. The solution is here with Organic Kitchenware, the new nonstick cookware with revolutionary green ceramic coating. Now you can saute or fry with little or no grease or fat. Foods never stick, so you never scrub. Look how with just water, burnt fudge cleans up in a breeze. Don't worry about eggs sticking to the pan. They'll slide right out. Order your 10-inch Organic fry pan right now for just $19.99. If it ever dulls or damages, we'll replace it. It's the pan that slips and slides for life. But we're still not done. Call or click right this minute and you can double your order. You get 2 Organic 10-inch fry pans with recipe books and a lifetime warranty. A whopping $220 value, all yours for $19.99. And when you call, find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-603-7571. But hurry, we're giving away a special offer on a second Organic pan with 2 days' orders. So call 1-800-603-7571 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-603-7571. Call now.
It's all. No idea how this show is successful at all. It doesn't make any sense to me or anybody else, but for some reason it is. Welcome to the program. We're at Babe's, which is good job, guys. It is hot, and you're looking hot in the cupcake outfits too. It is amazing to me that we can be here with such a great community. We're at Babe's Chicken Dinner House. I'm bringing Joel Vineyard. He is one of the owners of Babe's Chicken, and I mean, I get to know the owners of great restaurants. And when you're in Texas, trust me.
Thank you.
I know good food. Look at me. We just had lunch, and we were having a conversation. First of all, thank you for letting us
It's
come
our
here
pleasure. Thank you.
and invade your space here. We were talking about the way really entrepreneurial spirit works. We're talking about your father and how he started this business, and it's kind of grown. And we got down to the supply line for you guys.
Right.
Explain a little bit about, you know, you're having a hard time getting the right kind of chicken. You were having a hard time getting beans or catfish.
That's right.
Explain.
Earlier we were talking about ethanol-based corn, right? Corn for ethanol production. And when you have the corn made for ethanol, you cannot, it's not the same corn that's for consumption, for feedlots or for human consumption either way, so it affects the price of corn that we eat. When the government's doing these subsidies like they're doing for ethanol production, then the farmers are much better off by taking their fields that they're using for green beans, recently has been an issue for us, plowing those up and planting that subsidized corn.
So you, for a while, you couldn't sell catfish because you couldn't get any catfish.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, we couldn't get catfish because it was so much more profitable for them to plow their fields over and plant the ethanol-based corn, and then rather than do the catfish, and so the supply dried up, and we couldn't get it for quite a while.
And now you're having a problem getting the right kind of chicken.
Yeah, chicken has been an issue at times, and the supply of chicken, the price is driven up by this because the price of feed goes up, and it's the whole food chain because the corn that is the corn we eat, also corn that we use for feeding all the animals that we eat, and so when you're starving that out, it affects everything as well.
This is, we were having this conversation at lunch today that I remember being on CNN and talking about this. That there's two things. One, it's insane. We're going to be remembered as insane people for burning our own food supply.
That's right.
I mean, insane, especially with all the resources that we have.
That's right.
And the second thing is people don't realize it's almost like September 11th. You remember September 11th? By that evening, we all realized how fragile everything was.
Right.
People don't really realize how fragile the supply chain is.
That's right. We get to see it ahead of time. And we get to see what's behind the price increases or the food supply shortages. And a lot of times the public never gets to hear that message. And for all the different reasons you talk about very often. But a lot of times the words about why this ethanol-based corn is affecting the whole food supply, driving up inflation and supply of food. A lot of people don't get to hear that.
Tell me real quick here about this particular building that you're in.
Sure. Well, this was the city hall for Cedar Hill for many years. And then when they were building themselves a new city hall, they came down and asked us to come take it over for them and put it in a base. And so we came down here to Cedar Hill to do that.
Why, and this is something that have to teach our youth, why would the city come to a restaurant and say, take over this building and bring your business here?
Sure. The real reason is we're a family-owned business, a family-operated business, and we hopefully we try to operate by the best principles we can for us. It's our Christian faith. And so we build the business around that and the people that we hire and the people that we employ and then our customers. So it's a wholesome family atmosphere. And so those are the kind of people that we bring with us when we open up our doors. And so we are fortunate and blessed enough to bring a lot of them with us. And so in that, in bringing the right kind of a restaurant rather than, nothing against the chains, but it is chain restaurants, but it is different.
I would tell you that how many restaurants do you have here in Texas?
We have 11.
Okay, 11. We were talking about the difference that they make to small towns. There's this, the one I go to is in Roanoke, and it's this little teeny town.
Sure.
And a difference that they make. And we were talking about struggling towns here in Texas, et cetera, that want a Babe's to be there because it brings in people and business and good people.
Yes, sir.
And I talked about Ohio and Wilmington. I said, you need to put one there. And here is a smart businessman. What did you and your father tell me?
Well, one is we're waiting to see what happens in November to see if we're going to get choked out or if we need to just keep what we have. But the other thing is, as we're talking about expanding further away, the restaurant business is not just a food business. It's really a people business. And by keeping it all local, where we have our hands around it all the time, we're hiring and training and keeping people that we know to drive that same concept, the things that the city loves, that the people love, the kind of people. The food's really important, but the people make it work. You know, I can only do a little bit every day. It's all the people that work for us that do all the work. And having the right kind of people is everything.
This is why small government is right. You keep it local and it works. You have the people there that you can actually see and touch. Right. Once they get too far away, the whole thing falls apart.
It's very difficult to have the same personality, the same values, and spread it out so far.
Do you see why I like eating baby chicken? Yeah, the best.
Oh, thank you,
sir.
Thank you so much.
Back in a minute. You did a great job. Okay, we've talked a lot about regulation today and changing things, but the one thing that we haven't emphasized maybe enough is we have to make these changes in our own lives first. We have to get our own lives right on all fronts. And one of those things, especially if you're a small business, I know I'm a small business owner. We just heard it. We don't want to expand too fast. We got to wait till the election, see what happens, see if we're going to be choked out. Sometimes people look at their payroll because small businesses, they know their people. And so when they think I'm going to have to close my doors, they think about Paul or Susan and they think about their families and they don't want to do it. And so they make the choice, I'm not going to pay my taxes this quarter, I'm going to pay the people this quarter. That doesn't usually work out well. In fact, it's against the law. So you get behind the 8 ball and then you don't know what to do. May I suggest, please, call Tax Resolution Services and get this monkey off your back. They'll help you. Up to 85% off the original amount owed, the taxes, the penalty, the interest, if you qualify. Up to 85%. TaxResolution.com, 866-IRS-PROBLEMS. 866-IRS-PROBLEMS. Clean out your life. Start again. 866-IRS-PROBLEMS or TaxResolution.com.
The TRS Files. True tax resolution stories.
My name is Gibb, and I am not an actor. As a result of my dealings with Tax Resolution Service, my tax burden to the IRS went from more than $35,000 to zero.
If you owe the IRS over $20,000 or more in back taxes, have unfiled returns, or are under audit, call Tax Resolution Services now, 888-7804-TAX, or visit taxresolution.com/GBTV.
It's an unpredictable world. Disaster can strike at any time. That's why stove in a can should always be part of your emergency survival plan. With power out and gas lines down, stove in a can cooks your food and rapidly boils water. Portable, safe, and easy to use. With an all-natural waterproof fuel source you can store indefinitely. Say goodbye to dangerous propane, lighter fluid, and gas. Don't wait until it's too late. Stock up today and protect your family. Special bundle offers available at stoveinacan.com.
Is your belt too small? Wish there was an easy way to punch a hole? Well, now you can punch a perfect hole in seconds with RotoPunch. Wrong belt size? No problem. Just squeeze the handle and RotoPunch instantly makes the perfect fit. Is your purse strap too long? Fixing it is easy. Just squeeze for a perfect hole in seconds. Punching a hole has never been easier. Just pick a size and punch for an extra hole instantly. But hold everything, we're also including our snap and eyelet attachment free. Now worn out snaps and eyelets can be replaced quickly and easily. We'll even include 75 assorted snaps and eyelets free. Call now to get the RotoPunch with the snap and eyelet tool, plus 75 assorted eyelets and snaps today for only $10. But wait, order now and get a second RotoPunch system free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Call now.
To order RotoPunch for $10 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-919-4516. That's 1-800-919-4516 or order online at rotopunch.com. Call or log on now.
Hello, friend. I'm Pat Boone. Are you dreaming of an ideal retirement? Well, if you're 62 or older, there's a smart and easy way to get the money to make it happen. A reverse mortgage from my friends at Security One Lending, a national leader in reverse mortgages. They can help you turn the equity in your home into tax-free cash. Call to get this free, no-obligation information kit, which includes an educational video and the top 10 things to know about reverse mortgages. why don't you call now?
Yeah, we are here amongst a great group of people. Where did the Occupy Wall Street people go? They were here earlier, and I thought, my gosh, if you are protesting children, raising money for the homeless and the hungry with lemonade, you got issues. Wanted to talk to the Mayor Franke of Cedar Hills here in Texas. You have a unique town.
It's a beautiful town. We're so blessed to be here.
You came here from Kansas how many years ago?
30 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Small,
do the math.
sleepy little town.
Sleepy little town. Our town used to be one of those all-white rural towns. We started growing, and now we're blessed to be really a diverse town.
Okay.
I mean, the Spanish population, the African American, the white, and there's no majority population.
Okay.
And it works.
And why is it that it works?
We focus on what we have in common, not our differences.
Okay. And we were talking earlier today when we were having lunch about job creation and being a town unlike New York where you can actually get things done. And balancing the two. How do you balance that?
We see our job in the city as serving people. I mean, we are to be the servants. If somebody wants to have a business here, it's good for everybody.
Right.
So we welcome them. Like I was telling you a little quick story about JCPenney's. When they wanted to come here, they were opening 3 new stores around the country with their new footprint. They decided to go 3 cities. Ours was the first to open because we were business friendly. We let them have grading permits and get things started before all the paperwork was done. And that's helping people get it done.
But they all started at the same time.
Yeah,
all broke ground at the same time, or started the
process at
the same time. You were the first done.
Yeah, we're proud of that.
See, that's
Cedar
why
Hill,
we live in Texas. And the other thing that I find unique is that you're a city. You have services. You have.
We do what government's supposed to do.
Explain like your women's shelter and your.
Yeah, the
homeless shelter.
The beautiful thing at Cedar Hill is everything really good and great in our city happens by volunteers. We have a food pantry that's all volunteer based. It's all the donations come from the city. It's not government run. Our shelter for women where they can get away from a bad situation. And then we've just recently started another project called Hope Mansion, which is a shelter for women in crisis pregnancy so they can avoid the abortion option and see hope and have a life.
Okay, but it's not city run.
Oh, none of those are city run. City people involved. You got the spiritual community. You've got the business community.
Why
You've
don't
got
you just
the
take them
volunteer. Because it isn't going to work. What builds a community is when people give of themselves for something bigger than themselves.
So what is it the federal government is missing? Why are these big cities missing exactly what you just said?
I'll tell you, Glenn, I think a lot of it is a spiritual foundation. When you start figuring out what's more important than yourself and you don't implode on yourself. The government's a bureaucracy. I worked for the government one time, and it's a bureaucracy that lives to build bureaucracy. And when you get down to the local government, it's still people. And people is what makes it all work.
When you see Michael Bloomberg regulate soda, first trans fats, and then salt, and then soda, and now popcorn, lattes at Starbucks.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think in Texas, the only thing worse than being elected out of office would be laughed out of office.
In New York, we asked today. We were talking today in the on the show. I don't know what it's going to take for New Yorkers. At what point do you say, "Get your hands off my latte"?
You know, citizens here would just laugh me out of town if we started talking about that. We've got enough other more important things to do. Not to worry about that.
You're the best.
God bless you.
God bless you. God bless you. You've got a great town and
we love it.
Good people. Good people. Thank you so much.
You honor us.
Well, who's from someplace? Who's from the farthest? Anybody from out of state? Anybody from out of state? You're from out of state? No. Out of state. Who's from out of state? Anybody? Who's from Indiana? Houston's not out of state. Where are you from? You're from Fort Worth. Way all the way to Fort Worth. Who's Minnesota?
Originally.
Originally. How long ago did you wise up? How long ago didn't it dawn on you Minnesota's not the place to be?
It was too cold up there.
It was too
Otherwise,
cold.
we'd have stayed.
Right. You know what? I don't know about anybody else, but I love the fact that we're in Texas. It's sunny, it's hot, and we need to have these gigantic hot lights here as well, just in case we're not hot enough. Why'd you guys? Who can tell me why they are here today? Why you felt it necessary to come stand in a hot parking lot?
We want to make sure that we don't stand up, our kids' future is destroyed.
Hang on just a sec. What'd you say?
Because if we don't stand up, our kids' future is destroyed. My kids and her kids and your kids. If we the people don't stand up, like you said, man, sir, we surround them, not the other way around, Glenn.
God bless you. Why?
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. What's your name? What's your name?
Oh, Levi McDonald.
Hi, Levi McDonald. And you are?
Wilson.
Wilson, nice to meet you. So a pair of jeans and a volleyball or something like that. And you are?
Roderick.
Roderick? How are you, Roderick? Glad to have you guys here. Did you make that t-shirt yourself?
No, my mom made it because she's a real fan of you.
Wait a minute. There are 8 fingers here.
Those are mine. That's because.
Oh, okay. I thought that was. I didn't know what that was exactly.
Look like a heart.
Look like a heart? Oh, it does. More clever than I am. Where are you guys from? What is the?
Dallas.
From Dallas. What are your T-shirts?
This morning with our church, we went and fed some of the elderly people around town. Same mission you have, to go get involved.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. How long have you been doing that?
Well, today was our first day, but our church is always involved in doing stuff like that. But who knows, maybe you inspired it.
Why is it important that the church do it and not the government?
That's the way it was meant to be.
What?
That's the way it was meant to be from the beginning.
Wouldn't it be easier just to pay your taxes and sit on your couch?
Who knows where they're going? Yeah, only if you want about half of it used for charity and good purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly right. You know, I had a good bishop friend of mine tell me one time. I said, I don't know how to. I grew up in a poor working family, and I didn't know how to give. You know, I didn't know how to be responsible with a large sum of money. And I said, how do I give? How do I? And he actually used to work at Goldman Sachs, and he said, I'll tell you. And I said, I bet you will. And he said, you look at people as an investment. You look at charities as an investment. You're investing in that person's future. Who's going to get the most amount of your money directly to the person you're trying to help? I thought that was great.
Great advice.
Thank you. Did you have fun today?
Yes, sir.
Where are you from?
828 Garland.
You were in Washington?
Yes.
Are you going to be here for?
Yeah, I've already got tickets.
You already have tickets. Good. Yep. How many people have been to Dallas Cowboy Stadium? How many people are coming to Dallas Cowboy Stadium this year? Please come with. Please eat extra. I don't know if you've been there. It's gigantic. I stood in that place the other day because I had to figure out how slowly I have to read for people to be able to understand. It was so amazing. It is so gigantic. What'd you say? Everything in Texas is gigantic. I know. And that's why we're having the bake sale. Make sure you go to the website at glennbeck.com and find a bake sale near you. It's not too late. Some of these are still happening on the West Coast all the way through tonight. Some will be happening over the weekend. If you haven't done one or you couldn't get out to find one, you have children, please teach them how to be responsible, how to work, how to earn money. Teach them all of the principles behind it, and then teach them to give to charity. Teach them that what they do is important, not only so they can make a living for themselves, but also so they can be a blessing to others. Check it all out at glennbeck.com and start on step number 1. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to go to New York now and the real news. God bless. From Texas. Good night, America.
Breaking news tonight. We've got real news. This just in.
Real news from the Blaze.
Welcome to Real News. There's a fascinating poll out today. Have you guys seen this poll from Gallup that came out today showing how Americans feel about the different presidential candidates' plans for the economy? I think
Wait, are there more than two?
there are two what? Candidates?
Presidential candidates.
We're down to two.
Is Gingrich still in there? We didn't know.
Well, regardless, this poll narrows it down to President Obama and Mitt Romney and their views of the economy. And what it reflects is the Americans largely feel negatively about both men's plan for the economy. Let me show you what we're talking about here. This poll from Gallup shows that 54% of Americans have a negative view of President Obama's plans for the economy, but it's not much better for Mitt Romney. Look at that. Only 35% have a favorable view of Mitt Romney's plans for the economy, whereas 47% view his plan negatively. But here's the thing, guys. I kind of look at this poll a little bit skeptically. Do Americans really know what President Obama and Mitt Romney's plans for the economy are? It reminds me of this. Howard Stern used to have this bit where he'd go to a devoted Obama supporter and say, what is it you like about President Obama? Is it like that do you like that he reduced taxes for the rich by like 25%? And they'd say, yeah, that's one of the things I like about President Obama.
I love that.
I think you could switch these two guys' economic plans, if we can even figure them out. And I don't know that voters would know the difference. And I don't blame them. And in fact, I think President Obama kind of agrees with me. He gave a press conference earlier this week where he said this: the good news is, I think the American people agree with us, meaning his side. They're not following the ups and downs, the ins and outs of this campaign, but they do have a sense of what's true. Now, here's the deal. I kind of think President Obama is right here. I'm not sure how much Americans really know about these two guys' economic plans, and I don't blame Americans because these guys have made a very specific effort to give no specifics. They have tried to leave their economic plans incredibly vague. Why? Why would they give you specifics? All that does is give their opponent something to attack. Leave it in the realm of vagaries, and you can always say, hey, nothing here to see. So what I think we have to do here is peer into what these two guys' economic philosophies might be. And I know the viewers of Real News want to know what these guys' economic plans are. And over the next several months, we want to rededicate ourselves over and over to helping them understand what these guys stand for and what their economic principles are. So, as difficult as that might be, I think we peer into their economic philosophy. So let's start with President Obama. President Obama, like most liberal economists, view the economy as though it's a machine, like it has what you would call a motherboard with knobs and dials and faders that you can affect the various outcomes of the economy. Do you think that might be an unfair characterization? I'm not sure it is. Let me play for you something from a young lady at the Netroots conference. She would be a liberal, and she would be describing here what her view of the economy is.
The way that the left economists actually think about it is like a machine, or more specifically a vehicle, like a thing that is supposed to take us to a destination, a thing that we built, that we actually know how it works, and we can tweak it, we can make it work for us.
We can tweak it like a machine, like it has a motherboard full of knobs and dials. Literally, that is how the Obama or liberal economist view of the economy works. Like you have a knob here that says, let's see, things aren't going well in the economy, we've got a recession, let's bump up, let's say, 800, 900 billion in stimulus and see what that does. Oh, look at that. We're on the right track. I'm still not quite happy with where that is. Look at this dial right here that suggests cash for clunkers. Oh, we're heading the right direction. This is good stuff. And then finally, maybe like a, I don't know, like a payroll tax hit. I can get the Republicans on board with that. If I just fade that up a little bit, we're headed in the right direction.
Will, is there a knob for printing money?
There is, and that would shoot it off the chart. See if I just jacked that one up right there. Now, this, again, is the economic philosophy of many liberal economists and that of President Obama. And his economic plan going forward would have similar characteristics. He wants to provide for you some specifics like maybe more infrastructure spending. He's put that out specifically. He said, let's invest in more infrastructure spending over the coming years, hopefully in his second term, in his own hopes. And another one he talks about is a hiring tax credit for businesses. Now, I think as conservatives, we should be careful not to dismiss every one of these plans out of hand. It's not as though every one of these ideas are bad. It's the philosophy. It's the thought that you can twist knobs and dials and tweak and adjust an economy to its optimal, perfect performance. That is the place from which criticism should flow. Now, let's posit that quickly against what we hope, at least, Mitt Romney's economic plan would be. And I would analogize that to not a machine, but a gardener. I've got here a pot full of soil. Look at this, Amy. You have a worm in there? Here we go. Pot full of soil. The conservative principle should flow from this premise, that the government doesn't create jobs, but it creates the conditions for job growth. Here you have a perfectly tailored garden. How do you get flowers to grow? Well, maybe you come along, you got a little miracle grow that we'll call a 20% tax cut, or a lower regulatory environment. Mitt Romney,
not a stimulus.
Well, we will see. We will see. And you pour a little of that in the pot, and you hope sooner or later some flowers will grow. Now, there's no guarantees because, of course, we don't control the sun. We don't control the rain. But what you do is you can create the conditions for economic growth. And Mitt Romney's specifics that would fit into this analogy would be things like this. He talks about a 20% tax cut across the board. He talks about lowering the regulatory environment by repealing Obamacare, repealing Dodd-Frank. We look at the specifics from these two guys' plans, and we try to see how these might fit into an underlying economic philosophy. Because, again, they're not going to give us many specifics. And I think that brings two questions to us at the table. Number one, do you think Mitt Romney's economic philosophy reflects the one I just described? And two, is President Obama's philosophy, or rather his ideas, the specifics, are they all bad?
We left out hiring firefighters and teachers, which if you're going to look for something that President Obama seems to hit on every time he talks about the economy, that's there, which I think gives you a sense of, one, he puts way too much emphasis on the public sector. And I think that's really based on, where he comes from and what his experience
he thinks
is.
the private sector is doing fine.
Because the private sector is doing fine. But it's not as though firefighters and teachers necessarily are going to be a cure-all for anything. I think we all know that.
Well, he
but
knows
the focus on them shows that, well, it's just so political. It's just
he
firefighters and
Well,
teachers.
he wants
no one will teach your children and your house will burn
him.
down if you vote for the Republicans. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, he wants them to be sitting at home and saying,
but he
he's
always
our
hits
ally.
it. That's the one thing he always hits on.
Because it has an emotional attachment.
Exactly.
But
And
it
it's in the
does
news
reflect his economic philosophy that you can divide the economy into private sector, public sector. Private sector is doing fine.
Right.
We've talked about those graphs. Let's twist the knob on the dial that controls public sector.
And I think I would add to your explanation of Romney's economic plan, a really key component, at least as far as he's concerned, is his plan for education, which wants to be a market of ideas. He wants a free marketplace for education. And I think that's one area of distinction that he can really draw a line across between him and Obama. And I think he probably wants to bring more free market approach to health care and a lot of ideas, including maybe green jobs, energy kinds of policies. So I think the way Mitt Romney approaches his economic plan, in addition to being the way most conservatives approach it, is also to bring a free market approach to almost every sector across the board.
We're overstating a bit, though, to say that Obama just thinks the economy is a series of dials that you turn. If you look at his plan, and I did, it's kind of interesting. Here's Obama's plan, at least as of September of 2011, when he stopped all the presses to give that joint session. And it's living within our means and investing in the future. Mitt Romney's is believe in America. So I actually think this sounds a lot more positive and inspiring. But if you were to look at Obama's plan, he himself says, hey, look, I'm giving $70 billion in tax cuts to help small business. In his address, he said, we all know jobs come from the small business sector, $176 billion in cutting employee payroll taxes in half. And Mitt Romney's critique of Obama's market approaches is that they're short-term. So if you're a small business owner, you can't plan on hiring a new employee because it's going to be such a short amount of time.
Is short-term.
I don't think they reject the premise. I think believe in America and a series of long-term, certainty-providing tax cuts is exactly the kind of economic foundation you plant. And when you talk about investing in our future, you could just replace that on the top of the motherboard. And you talk about short-term principles like tax credits, not tax cuts, and short-term stimulus. That's exactly the view of the economy that you can twist knobs and dials and affect things in the short term.
Mitt Romney wants the free market to direct
taxes.
Mitt Romney wants the free market to be doing the investing, which I think is another. You talked about philosophy. That's a core difference. Mitt Romney believes that the market should be determining where capital goes. And I think, Barack Obama gets caught up in this idea that, people have described this before, the economy, it's sort of like it's a big pool, right? And by taking it from the private sector to the public sector, you're just taking from one side, going to the other, and pushing it in. You're not actually creating wealth that way. I think the Obama administration just fundamentally rejects that. I think that they don't believe that that is, in fact, what they're doing.
And now let me distinguish something you said. I mean, President Obama has not put forward tax cuts as something he's proposing. He puts forward tax credits. There's a fundamental difference. Hold on. There's a difference between tax credits and tax cuts. And if you're going to bring up the fact that he wants to abolish the Bush tax cuts or extend the Bush taxes for the middle class, I would submit to you that is fundamentally a political approach, not an economic approach. He's using it only to prop up the idea of letting them expire on the rich.
Well, based on his words and his tax plan, he says he wants to cut the payroll tax in half for 98% of businesses. He wants a complete payroll tax holiday for added workers or increased wages.
I don't call those tax cuts. If you call those tax, that's tax credits for short-term measures.
He also says he wants to cut the payroll taxes for employees. The problem
permanently?
being, no, and that's exactly what I'm saying. The problem being, as Mitt Romney sees it, that it's not permanent. So you have this instability in the market. And of course, we're not discussing Obamacare and what a weight.
I know we're hung up on this debate, but
development.
it's only because I feel like it's very, very important that people understand the difference between cuts and credits, and I don't want to mix those up.
And at some point, payroll tax. He wants to cut in half the payroll tax for employees. He wants to lower payroll taxes that employers pay, but he wants to do it on a short-term basis, hoping it will have a short-term stimulus effect.
Well, and a short-term political effect, which I think is what Will is saying, because if he believed in these as a matter of economic philosophy, he'd say, why don't we just keep these? Because if that has a stimulative effect for businesses, clearly it's a good idea. Well, he realizes that his own economists have said that right now a major tax hike could actually throw the U.S. into a recession. Things are tough enough. He doesn't have to cause a recession that his own economists said could come if he didn't do this.
As I'm listening to this, I'm hearing a lot of specifics. We started out the segment talking about how there weren't a lot of specifics. Do you think that the average American really needs more specifics? Amy just outlined several specifics. I think we've outlined several specifics with respect to what Mitt Romney wants to do. I see a very clear decision here between two very different visions for America, with enough specifics for people to realize there's a big choice to be made. Do you think that they need to dig super deep on every issue? They can provide this.
Sure,
they can tell you what I want to do.
But
do you think they need to go into detail every minute with the average American? The average American's waiting to hear that.
I'm going to tell you the answer to that for me is no, but I'll tell you this. After this commercial break, we'll devote a whole block to telling you why I think that is not a good idea as we talk about the political implications.
You are
of
so
these
good at setting this up.
economic plans. When we come back, SC is going to lead us through that political fallout from all this economy talk.
Brilliant.
Next.
Preparation, focus, hard work. It's a personal commitment. It's what drives me. It gives me the confidence to look my opponent in the eye and say, game on. Preparing for life's future challenges is just as important. Food Insurance Emergency Food Supply gives me the same assurance that I'm ready for whatever comes my way. Preparation is everything. Order today at foodinsurance.com.
The establishment has tried and failed to copy the FreedomWorks model. Why? Because they don't understand how freedom works. So while they were sleeping, we were planning our hostile takeover. It's about the politics of we the people. So get a copy of Hostile Takeover and learn how to take back your liberty today. Get your exclusive excerpt before the book goes on sale by going to www.hostiletakeoverbook.com.
Attention those on Medicare with diabetes. You may be eligible for an upgraded meter.
If you're tired of stabbing your fingertips to test your blood glucose, we have news that could change your life. If you're on Medicare with diabetes, then you need to know there's an alternative method for checking your blood glucose every day. You don't need to stab your fingertips anymore. The Embrace meter from Diabetes Care Club is easier to use and nearly painless. And the best news is that Diabetes Care Club would love to send you one of these meters. This method hurts less, and because you can see and hear your results, it may be easier to understand.
Your blood glucose reading is 89.
Call now to find out why. Nearly 250,000 patients have joined Diabetes Care Club. Membership is free, so is the call.
Call 1-800-213-7027.
Talk to Diabetes Care Club. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Real News. So I'm going to rattle off a couple of names. Deval Patrick, Bill Clinton, Cory Booker.
People that don't like Barack Obama.
I don't know that they don't like
Bain Capital.
But
right, better said.
Add to that James Carville, who is the latest Democrat. I don't know if you'd call him a surrogate, but he's a Democrat who has sort of piled on Mitt Romney. He does not like, Obama. He does not like the Obama campaign's messaging efforts, and he in fact says that they're not working. We don't know whether this is helpful advice or another betrayal. What's that thing they say about opinions?
Yeah.
Everyone's got one. That's all I'm going to say on that. So pollsters, Stan Greenberg and Erica Seifert, along with James Carville, all with the Greenberg Quinlan Rosner consulting firm, put together this report for Democracy Corps that outlines the way they think the Obama campaign messaging strategy has played over the past few months. And basically the news of the report is it's not been effective. Based on focus groups in Ohio and Pennsylvania, so this is not just three people opining. They actually did some work here, some research. The strategists all argue that the voters are simply not convinced that the economy is on the move and that it's a mistake to try and tell them otherwise, which is basically what Obama's been doing, coming out and saying, A, here's what got us here, Bush, 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 Bush. B, this was really hard and was never going to happen overnight. And C, things are looking great. The private sector's doing just fine, right? Not working, newsflash. And actually, we have we pulled a good quote from this report so you can see exactly what they say here. They actually have they being the American public, actually have a very realistic view of the long road back and the struggles of the middle class. And the current narrative about progress just misses the opportunity to connect and point forward. I would also add to that, there's more. While we hear some optimism, this is framed mostly by the sense that this has to be rock bottom. Not good. And actually, I saw a number of strategists on the television today saying this is the lowest I've seen the campaign so far. This is as bad as Obama has had it the past 2 weeks since Romney was the nominee.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom. I would add to that he's sort of in an unenviable position, President Obama, right? If everything was great and recovery had worked, all he'd have to do is say, look how great it is. Come with me for the next 4 years and we'll get even better. He can't say that. So he has to look back. He has to say, remember big bad Bush. Remember how terrible that was. He has to remind us. And that's an unfortunate position to be in. And I think that's what Carville et al. Are saying. This is not what people want to hear. So the next point, not good news. Polling released yesterday showed Romney is in a statistical tie with Barack Obama. And the folks that I've spoken to on the Hill and just in strategy camps say this is, looks good for Obama, but this is terrible, actually. He should be a lot farther up in the polls considering where things are right now. So the fact that Mitt Romney is almost tied, not good news. And finally, bad news, in some recent analysis by a political scientist, Adam Bonica, and a BuzzFeed report, apparently roughly 90% of the folks who gave more than $200 to Obama in 2008 have not returned. That's a devastating number. So the president has already come out and responded to James Carville's advice, saying, happy with our strategy, we're going to push forward. Not surprising if you consider his personality of holding, fast, staying the course, not admitting to mistakes, leading a very insular kind of administration where he doesn't fire anyone, even someone like Geithner or Holder who's been problematic. This is not surprising. However, he is giving a new speech tomorrow on the economy. We'll see if he's picked up any of these lessons from Carville or this strategy report. And I think, sorry, I'm trying to.
Very pregnant pause.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out which way.
In attention here. It's fine.
Which way I want to end here. I want to end with a fantastic piece of audio from 1994 C-SPAN. It is our buddy David Axelrod, hat tip to BuzzFeed for sending this out, sounding a whole lot like James Carville.
As you cite these statistics that say the economy is improving, you almost do political damage to yourself. If you stand up and claim great progress, you're only frustrating this alienated middle class more, and that was the key.
Even though Reagan could do it over and over again. Although Bush couldn't, could he? It started to run out on Bush, didn't it? He couldn't stand up and say, oh, we're really out of the recession. And technically, he was right. We were, but nobody believed him.
Well, the other thing is I think Bush tastelessly did it often from the, the ninth hole.
Oh, that's just brilliant. Tastelessly did it from the middle of the game. I mean, it's unbelievable how uncanny that audio is. And congrats to BuzzFeed for finding it. I hope someone asks him about that. So what do you guys think? The question is Obama's message wrong? Or, as some people have suggested, does he just have too many?
I want to translate, if I can, what I think Carville's it's really an intervention. This is like panic time.
It feels
like an intervention, right? He's like, what you guys are doing is absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
It seems to me what he's really saying is your record is indefensible at this point.
Right.
So your best shot, and pointing at the other guy and saying that he's terrible, given his sterling personal and professional record, they've tried the Bain attacks, that's probably not going to work. So you have to conjure, and we've talked about this here. We've said, when is it going to come together? When is there going to be that broad, sweeping narrative that gets people so excited? The Barack Obama campaign has to conjure something together that looks for the next 4 years that is so enticing to people that they will forget about the last 3. Very hard to do, but I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right now, he looks not only completely out of touch, but he looks like he's insulting the majority of Americans. Like, we're a bunch of dummies. We're supposed to sit back. Everyone we know is out of work. Everyone's struggling, and we're supposed to believe his line when he gets on TV that everything's doing just great. So I think he's condescending to Americans in the same breath that he's really offering no solutions that have a proven record of success. This guy's not coming out with policies that we can look back and say, oh, Ronald Reagan did this and this worked. No, he's reiterating failed policies in the same breath as he's condescending to everyone and saying everything's going just fine. I think it's just fail across the board.
So we've had this debate at this table, and you and I in particular had this specific debate, and as I think about it, I think I was right.
Whoa, hold on. You can't just say you're right in the debate. What's the debate? I want to hear it.
Reporter, can I get a ruling?
Party foul.
I'm going to fill in some specifics here. That is this. You're right. I mean, I think every possible message, economic message specifically, has been thrown against the wall for Barack Obama at this point. And I think James Carville is right. This is a hard sell. That we inherited something bad, but it's getting better is a very, very hard sell. So do this. Search for President Obama's position of strength from which to argue. It is almost impossible to find that position of strength. And when you have no options left, politicians seem to invariably revert to one thing, and that is negative personal attack. That will encompass the Bain attack. That will be the one I submit to you that they go forward with, packaged with one other that we've heard, and that is empathy for the middle class. It will be 1 verse 99.
Well, I just need to establish clarity here. You're saying that the Bain attack is going to be what they rest their hat on, and I've been saying that won't work.
That's right.
You have not been proven right on that. You may be proven right on that. And I think you're wrong.
I don't say it's going to work, but at the time you said they'll cycle through them, and I think that'll be the final.
And he said it. He said he's going to go for that. He said this is the centerpiece. He's already put it out there. This is where I'm going.
Exactly, and we already have evidence that going negative is something he's going to do and has been doing. Let's play that.
I am telling you, I want you all to pay attention over the next 5 months and see if they are offering a single thing that they did not try when they were in charge, because you won't see it. It will be the same stuff, the same okie doke.
The same okie doke. So, Amy, I mean, Will's right. You kind of end up there when you don't really have a positive message of look at the proof of what we've done and take us for another 4 years. Do you think this is where he's going to land, and is this going to work?
Well, looking at this, I was reminded that James Carville worked for the guy who said, "I feel your pain." So he's certainly learning from Bill Clinton, telling President Obama, you need to empathize with the people and earn their trust. I think that's a big part of what Carville's advice is to President Obama. The other part of his advice that you know, you hear about elections, they're about the future. They're not about the past.
Right.
And he's telling President Obama, focus on the future of the middle class. And while Obama is pointing fingers at George Bush, he's forgetting, you know, what's in the, you know, the front of the, through the windshield, he's looking in the rearview mirror. So this seems to be good advice to me. But in terms of campaigning on his record, obviously that's very problematic for him. And disqualifying Mitt Romney, that also has to be a part of his two-pronged approach, which is tricky because when you attack the other guy, it can also bring down your own.
Amy, you hit on a key point there, though, and this goes back to our little tete-a-tete, Mr. Kane, which is that he's running against Bush, actually, in that soundbite. He's not running against Bain. He's not running against private equity.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's the discussion is that they're not going to be able to come back. The final resting place of this campaign to win the presidency is not going to be on Mitt Romney was a vulture capitalist at Bain. That will be there, but that's not going to be the centerpiece. That's not going to be the crown jewel because it fundamentally doesn't work.
Well, Buck, I think it's going to be interlinked with this concept that Amy talked about of empathy, and that's going to require this 1 verse 99 concept. I think
that's the broad narrative. That's what I've been talking about.
They work hand in hand. Indict Bain. You're going to have to indict Mitt Romney as a human being. He's going to go there as well, and you're going to try to posit and divide these people between 1 and 99.
Right, and empathy is not the same. When Obama hears empathy, he hears class war.
Right.
He hears income inequality. He hears,
police,
I feel some of your pain and I hate everyone else. Yeah. Won't you hate them with me? I don't think that's the kind of empathy that Carville's talking about.
We saw in 2008, this is a guy who's adept at speaking a lot without saying very much, right? The nebulous concepts, hope and change and the rising of the seas. We've seen all of that. Class warfare rhetoric in a broad sense. I think that is where they'll be going. That does work.
That's what they've been doing.
But getting into the specifics of, for example, Mitt Romney's record at Bain opens you up to the Cory Booker situation, opens you up to the Bill Clinton situation, which is there is discernible evidence here that, in fact, that he did a good thing for the economy.
And if I could add, it seems to me for all the advice that President Obama is getting, the one piece of advice that I think he really needs is to govern. And so you have James Carville and his own advisors. He's giving another speech tomorrow. We already have had 2 State of the Union since the midterms, 2011. This year we have the September Stop the Presses, get both sides of Congress in to listen to the president lay out his plan. That didn't do anything. I'm not sure that people want to hear another speech. I think they want the president to roll up his shirt sleeves and get the work done.
Yeah, I can
end the suspense and tell you the people are going to hear another speech and another speech and another.
And it's probably going to be the same
Some class
speech
warfare
they
tomorrow,
heard
you think?
already.
Class warfare.
Coming our way?
Yes. Class war. Well, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but yeah, class warfare. So we'll have tonight's top 3 stories for you after the break. Stay tuned.
Have you considered silver as part of your portfolio strategy? Silver is the most affordable precious metal, and it has outperformed gold over the last 10 years. Maybe it's time you consider silver. Silver can help diversify and balance your portfolio with a tangible asset that can move independently from other financial assets. And silver enjoys the benefit of both investment and industrial demand. It's never too late to diversify your portfolio with precious metals. Let Goldline, a precious metals leader, help you get started. Call Goldline and get your free investor kit. Be sure to ask about our price guarantee program. Use your credit card for safety and convenience and enjoy free shipping. Call Goldline now and buy silver with confidence. Get started today with Goldline.
MyPatriotSupply.com presents LifeStraw. With LifeStraw, you can immediately and safely drink water like this and like this. LifeStraw is the ultra-lightweight personal water purifier that has been turning heads and saving lives since 2005. With a patented set of filters, you can drink directly from contaminated floodwaters and from ponds, lakes, and streams anywhere in the world without worry. Get LifeStraw now at MyPatriotSupply.com. Clean water from virtually any source on sale today at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Thinking of buying window blinds from a jack of all trades?
Take a right at the garden gnomes, then a left at the squirrel feeders. You'll see some store maps. That should guide you to where the blinds are located.
At Blinds.com, all we do is blinds. Our experts help from selection to installation, and for a lot less than retail. For a limited time, use code GBTV for an additional 10% off already discounted prices. Blinds.com.
It's amazing how much bigotry exists out there. More amazing that some of those views are expressed out loud and on video. So it's a good thing we have the Blaze around to cover it all. This way we all know who to avoid. A couple of those stories appear on the site tonight. Are they among tonight's top 3? Well, let's ask our editor-in-chief, Scott Baker. Hey, Scott.
Well, that story you're talking about is actually number 4 right now, Amy. So it's not in the top 3, but it really was a remarkable story. We put it up last night. And it was just a simple interview at a house fire in Buffalo, and the guy went off on a racist rant. What was chilling about it was just kind of how calm he was about it as he described his racist views. You can check that out. It's not in the top 3, but let's get to those. Tell you about the ones that are getting some traction here right now. Glenn Beck, I know you've heard of him, and apparently Bill O'Reilly, perhaps you've heard of him. They went at it last night on the O'Reilly Factor. And at one point, Mr. Beck said to Mr. O'Reilly, come on, you're talking about Obama. Admit it, he's a Marxist. In that way that Glenn has, you'll want to watch that exchange. If you've missed it, go to the Blaze for that. Number 2 story right now kind of doesn't even fall into the breaking news category. It is more one of those things where, I was just looking, I have a whole couple of boxes of old records in my basement, and we put up a story today by Michael Palka about a top 10 list of the top 10 old vinyl albums that you might even have, that some of them are worth $1,000, $2,000. You never know. Might be in grandma's attic. Check that out. The number 1 story right now, though, does involve Attorney General Holder. We've been talking a lot about him this week. And Congressman Darrell Issa, who has been very vigilant on this front, has sent a letter of, I guess it's fair to call it an ultimatum to the Attorney General. And you may want to read what Congressman Issa's ultimatum has to say. We have that on the Blaze. I also would like to introduce as our story to boost another nugget from Netroots. I know we've been doing this since the Netroots convention happened this last weekend. And sadly, this is the truth. I just got to speak the truth. And this is about... Well, it's about the sex lives of conservatives. And I think clearly they had it nailed there at Netroots. The headline on our story reads, "Crappy Sex Lives of the Right." Netroots panelist claims twisted conservatives have forced, coerced, nasty sex with children and animals. Now, you might just think she's joking, but, in the tone of her voice, it really just didn't seem that way. Does this seem to be like the language of hope and change? I don't think so.
Very strange. So, Scott, your story to boost? Is that it? That was it. Okay. And we're boosting that. Why?
I know sometimes when you go for the kind of uplifting thing, okay, I'll do this. To get us away from the forced, coerced, nasty, twisted sex that all people on the right are apparently having, according to the left. We do have an increasing. We keep updating the story of the pictures from the bake sales and the lemonade sales, and
much nicer.
All of that's there to warm your heart.
Thank you. Much nicer. When we come back, as we wait for the Supreme Court's impending ruling on Obamacare, Buck is going to take us through it. The Romney alternative.
The TRS Files. True tax resolution stories.
My name is Gibb, and I am not an actor. As a result of my dealings with Tax Resolution Service, my tax burden to the IRS went from more than $35,000 to zero.
If you owe the IRS over $20,000 or more in back taxes, have unfiled returns, or are under audit, call Tax Resolution Services now, 888-7804-TAX, or visit taxresolution.com/GBTV.
The establishment has tried and failed to copy the FreedomWorks model. Why? Because they don't understand how freedom works. So while they were sleeping, we were planning our hostile takeover. It's about the politics of we the people. So get a copy of Hostile Takeover and learn how to take back your liberty today. Get your exclusive excerpt before the book goes on sale by going to www.hostiletakeoverbook.com.
Tired of twisting and turning that stubborn old garden hose onto a spigot? Sick of getting soaked when it won't fit right? Now just snap on and off with Snap 2.0. It lets you snap all your hose supplies in 1 second flat. Just attach the connectors to any fixture, then snap off a sprinkler and snap on a garden feeder. Fast and easy. Snap 2.0's universal connector fits thousands of different watering fixtures, and its interlocking technology clamps both sides together to create a watertight seal, even over this expensive computer. Not a single drop. When you order, we'll send you not one, but 2 sets for just $10. Plus this adjustable pressure nozzle to power blast grime, free. But call now and we'll double the entire offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's 4 Snap 2.0 sets and 2 pressure nozzles, all for just $10.
To order Snap 2.0 for $10 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-875-3128 or order online at snap20.com.
Welcome back. As you know, we're waiting for a decision on Obamacare from the Supreme Court. But a new government report is out that deals with the issue of cost, and it has some surprising stuff in it. Let's put it up on the screen. Projected healthcare expenses in trillions of dollars. What we're looking at here is that even if Obamacare gets struck down, there's not much of a difference, according to this most recent graphic, on what the costs would be. This is pretty fascinating stuff because, of course, you have to keep in mind that originally when Obamacare, or the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act,
very nice,
thank you, was passed, they said it would be a huge cost-cutting measure. Now, what we've learned since then is that not only is it not a cost-cutting measure, it's costing twice as much as they initially projected. That was in March of this past year. The Congressional Budget Office said that it's going to be double. It's going to be $1.7 trillion over 10 years in additional health care costs over what we can expect. And somehow they think that they're going to be able to do this and they're going to cover 30 million more people and that it won't explode. So what we see here is costs spiraling out of control. But let's look at it in a historical context too. If we put up a chart of what expenditures have been for healthcare over a long period, okay, now what do we see there? Healthcare costs going through the roof. End-of-life care, as we've discussed on the show before, a huge component of this. In fact, 80% of a lot of the cost of healthcare for an individual will occur in the last few years, sometimes even the last 6 months of life. But also we have an aging baby boomer population. We have people who are living longer than they ever had in the past. And so this is just spiraling everything out of control. Well, that's why President Obama says we need Obamacare to keep costs down and to get care for all. So we're going to cover 30 million more people, and it's going to cost less. Looks like that's pretty unlikely. So Mitt Romney's suggesting, what should we do? We need to get rid of Obamacare because it's going to increase our costs. It's a bad idea. But he's not just saying repeal. He's also saying replace. And recently on the campaign trail, he laid out what his vision is for health care reform, because he has his own version. Let's play that clip.
And I intend to do both. If I'm the president at a time when the Supreme Court has left Obamacare in place, I will repeal it on day one by sending out a waiver to all 50 states to keep them from having to pursue Obamacare.
So there's a place of agreement here. Everyone seems to agree that healthcare costs are out of control. Healthcare costs too much and is costing more and more as time goes on. Therefore, something has to be done about it. And I think this is an interesting shift for the Romney campaign because they had not yet really been clear as to what, other than repeal. They say Obamacare is bad, Obamacare will cost more, Obamacare will institute all kinds of bureaucracy that will take away choice from you. And based on free market principles, it would seem like that's just going to get more and more expensive. So now here we have Mitt Romney suggesting that he has his own version, a sort of.
He does?
Well, and it's interesting, Essie, you bring that up. Perfect segue into the fact that this is somebody who, as governor, signed a statewide health insurance plan. So what we have here is costs and two different versions of how to control the costs, because everyone agrees that the costs are too much. So let's find out who's right. I want to bring in John Goodman. He's a healthcare expert, and he's the author of Curing the Healthcare Crisis. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
Wanted to ask you here, John, as we laid out in the intro, Obamacare is going to cost more than anybody thought in the beginning. Romney is proposing now that he has a means, through using competition and through using the free market system, of essentially having a state-to-state health care reform that will cover the same amount of people that would have been covered under Obamacare, but it will be a state program, and it will actually keep costs down. Do you think he's onto something here, or is this just campaign rhetoric?
I think Romney came out with two good ideas today. One was, let's give the same tax break to everyone regardless of where you get your insurance. So if you get it at work or you buy it on your own or you get it at an exchange, the government gives you the same amount of help. That's very, very important. It will encourage portable insurance. The other good idea is block granting the Medicaid program back to the states. If they have more control over the program, they will find ways to save money.
So what we have here is not only a candidate who's suggesting the repeal of Obamacare, because Obamacare, he believes, is unconstitutional, as well as a flawed law, but somebody who wants to put in place something that respects free market principles more and therefore could lower costs. That's pretty much our read of it so far. I know the details are sketchy.
Yes, you're right. And there's nothing in Obamacare that's going to control costs. Romney has endorsed the idea of health savings accounts. That would give people more control over their own health dollars. If I can do a little bit of self-promotion, the book I've written is called Priceless, and it does lay out a comprehensive alternative to Obamacare. And I've discussed some of this with Governor Romney.
Hey, John, this is Will Kane. Let me ask you a question. You laid out two things here that you said are good proposals from Mitt Romney. One, you said block granting Medicare to the states, Medicaid to the states. But the other one, you talked about the tax break, treating all employees, whether or not you work, whether you buy your insurance individually or through your employer, the same, so that you have this concept of portability. But let me just press you on this tax break concept for one more second. Don't we have a problem in the healthcare market where employers have treated healthcare as a form of compensation? So they've gold-plated it, right? You get these health care packages, these health insurance packages that cover everything from your teeth to your toenails because they can shove your compensation into your health care package. And as long as your health insurance is tied to your employment, isn't that always going to be a problem? Forget portability for a second. Isn't that a problem? Don't we have to break that connection?
Yes, but the bigger problem is the tax law. You know, your wages are taxed, but your health insurance benefit is not taxed, so it escapes income taxes and payroll taxes. But if you and I go out on our own and we buy our own insurance, we have to buy it with after-tax dollars. So that encourages employer-provided insurance. If there were a level playing field, we would be more likely to have insurance that we take with us from job to job and that we own.
Is your proposal then to take away the tax deduction for those that get their health insurance through employers, or provide it for those that buy insurance on their own?
Equal tax relief for everyone, regardless of where you get your insurance. Yes, and that way, and that would encourage portable insurance.
John, Amy Holmes here. My question about health care is really kind of at a more basic philosophical level in terms of, is it really the same kind of consumption good as anything else? Like the shirt you buy, the car, the house. A lot of people point out that your health care needs aren't necessarily related to your ability to pay, and thus you have the child with leukemia whose parents are coal miners and can't afford these expensive treatments.
Listen, that's a very good point, but what we've done in healthcare is we've completely suppressed the market system. We need prices and we need markets in healthcare if we're going to control costs and if we're going to give people choices. You know, low-income people all over this country can walk in supermarkets and buy any product you and I can buy with food stamps. They should be able to do the same thing in health care, paying the same prices we pay.
You know, John talked about Mitt Romney's two big highlights, the tax breaks and the block grants. But I'm curious, and maybe we don't care, but I just want to raise the question, and Buck, maybe you know this, maybe John knows this. What is Mitt's plan for the uninsured? Or don't we care?
He says that he will cover pre-existing conditions. I think this is interesting because it shows that that is something that is a bipartisan. I think there's a bipartisan consensus on that, as is understandable why. He says they will cover pre-existing conditions. In the past, I know conservatives have talked about having special exchanges for that in order to sort of break that off and make sure that those with pre-existing conditions are covered. But I don't know. If John has any more specifics, I'd very much like to hear them. John, do you have any sense of how Romney might try to keep pre-existing conditions covered?
Well, there are two important things he will do that will cause more people to get insurance. One, you have to remember most uninsured people do not have an opportunity to get insurance from an employer. so they don't get any tax break when they buy their own insurance. Romney will give them that tax break. So that's very, very important. That will insure a lot of people. The other point he makes is that once you get in the system, you shouldn't be penalized for a pre-existing condition.
Right.
That means you can't wait until you get sick and then buy health insurance, but if you're getting health insurance from an employer or you switch to another plan, you shouldn't be penalized because you got sick in the interim.
So let me ask this, what about the ability to buy insurance from another state? Is that something that could be done at the federal level to allow someone in New York City to buy health insurance from Omaha, Nebraska? Or is that something that would have to be agreed to by all 50 states in a much more complicated policymaking way?
Well, Romney has endorsed the principle, and I think it's important because I think we need a national market for insurance. And exactly how he would carry it out, I don't know. But I think it's a good idea, and I think we would all benefit from it.
I would offer this to you guys. You know, we've talked a lot about the likelihood of Obamacare being struck down in part, meaning that the individual mandate might go bye-bye when the Supreme Court is done with it, but the rest of the law could very well sort of stand in this weird place. Well, what we have then is a discussion, and I think then we get into what is the Obama campaign narrative of fixing this law. And so you're going to, I think, and the Romney campaign recognizes that. They see that it looks unlikely. We don't know. We'll find out soon. We'll certainly be talking about it on the show. It looks like part of Obamacare will get struck down, if not the whole thing. And if that happens, then you're going to have dueling visions for reforming health care. Just because Obama may have overreached on the individual mandate does not mean that people are going to sort of abandon this idea wholesale. I think we see that Romney's going to have his version of the plan.
The problem without the individual mandate, it makes the rest of Obamacare unaffordable.
Right, but they'll say now we have to find a way to make the rest of it affordable because there seems to be more agreement now that health care reform needs to happen. The question is, what is that reform? They're not just saying repeal it. They could have just said we're just going to repeal it and keep what we have now.
If parts get struck down, though, and not all of it, doesn't that cause immense chaos for the parts of the law that are already being implemented in certain places? What happens then?
Knows.
That's what I want to know.
Of course it will.
John, can you help us with that? If parts of the law get struck down, but the law doesn't get struck down in its entirety, and there are certain things that are already being implemented right now and paid for, is that massive chaos that we're headed toward?
You know, even if the entire law is upheld, we're going to have a big mess with Obamacare. If parts of it are declared unconstitutional, we'll have another kind of mess. We really need to get to a more rational approach to health reform, and I think Governor Romney has much better ideas here.
And if the individual mandate is struck down, my understanding is this was the mechanism that made Obamacare affordable, that you're getting a bunch of people who are paying more than they need into the system, and that money is then cross-collateralized to the other people who are drawing more than they have.
Well, I think what we saw today is that Obamacare is not going to make health care more affordable, even if the whole law is upheld. It forces us to buy insurance whose cost is going to be rising at twice the rate of growth of our income, and eventually it will crowd out everything else that we consume.
John, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. All right, guys, Alan and Misfit Stories is up next.
Coming this year from Mercury Inc., President Obama calls his childhood mentor Frank, but he was so much more. A writer, an entrepreneur, an activist, and a full-fledged communist. Author Paul Kanger reveals the untold story of the communist who changed America forever. Then, a publishing first, a 10-part ebook thriller series released over the course of 1 year. From New York Times bestselling author Chris Stewart. By June, the battle will be raging, not for the Oval Office, but for our souls. It's time to find a new way forward. The Ultimate Voter's Guide from Glenn Beck. In the fall, we turn to entertainment with 2 groundbreaking sequels. First, the young adult thriller Michael Vey, Rise of the Elgin. And then, the long-awaited sequel to Glenn's smash hit novel, The Overton Window, finally arrives. It's a year of education, entertainment, enlightenment, and of course, the election. All coming this year from Glenn Beck and Mercury Inc.
people are talking. Join the conversation. Like GBTV and Glenn on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Let your voice be heard.
New York Mayor Colonel Mike Bloomberg is close to earning himself a permanent spot on the island of misfit stories. Well, what is he doing this week?
What did he do now?
Well, first of all, since we're keeping tally of the times that Buck is wrong, remember the
It's a short
time
list.
when we were talking about soda bans over 16 ounces, and you said, this isn't the slippery slope, folks. This is the bottom of the slope. I'm not sure you're right, because apparently there's more.
This is what you get for your apathy. What did Buck's apathy get us now?
The New York City Board of Health has endorsed Mayor Bloomberg's proposal to limit sodas to below 16 ounces, but oh no, they do not propose stopping there. One of their members suggests also limiting snacks.
What?
If sodas are bad, snacks are too, and they point specifically to limiting the size of movie theater popcorn.
That's just
containers.
un-American.
What?
Un-American. I agree with you on that.
I'm telling you, the thing
So
is...
now you care?
I
Are you
cared-
outraged
I cared
now?
before. I cared before. But
No, you said, you know what you're going to do, SC? You're going to move.
Hey, let me ask you this.
New Jersey is
That's how
not
much
that
you
far.
care.
I'm a
It's
witness.
not that
That's
hard
how
to
much
get
I
you.
remember, witness.
Hey, there was a
And
poll.
Joe and I were both saying this is what they want. This is how they win.
There was a poll that came out after the soda ban that showed the majority of New Yorkers embrace the concept of limiting sodas to below 16 ounces. Let me just ask you this. What's the tipping point for New Yorkers? What is too much?
Ask Buck.
Is it pizza? What is it? Where is it?
Hot
that you-
dogs?
It might be pizza.
Bacon?
Now that you mention it, it might be pizza.
I'm flabbergasted.
Bagels?
Chinese delivery.
Bagels.
Don't mess with
Never gonna
our...
give up.
Well, no, but see now this vigorous and fascinating civics discussion we're having right now is exactly what protects you from these local as opposed to federal nanny-state regulations. There's no New York Constitution that says you get to drink a huge big gulp while you're having a popcorn the size of a freaking shopping
If it's
cart.
legal, I
Done.
want it.
No
Wow.
one's going to go to the movies. Let me just add that. Between the soda bans
I gave you a
and
mark
the,
on
and the
right.
popcorn.
Just
No one's
bacon.
going to the
Tally.
movies.
Right, and the movie theaters are going
Buck,
to
wrong
have a
and
field
right.
day with this.
All right, Buck, your turn.
Score sheet.
It's a tough day for Buck because I got to say, I thought that the things that were being voted on in North Dakota would go a certain way. Negged on all well, we all knew that two of them were going to go a certain way, but the third one was a little more up in the air.
I love this headline. North Dakota votes down all our stuff.
North Dakota has voted down all of our sort of freedom-ish stuff. They have decided that property taxes, a good thing. The state can take your home if you're too poor to keep it. I'm not such a fan of that, but I understand, I guess, why they did it. Religious liberty law there. They had their version, the state version, as we discussed, of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. I forget what the Dakotans? I'm looking at
North
you.
Dakota.
No, Dakotans were calling it. But the one that really sort of burned was they got rid of the Fighting Sioux.
Right.
They decided, overwhelming majorities, by the way, voted on all these things. They got rid of the Fighting Sioux as the mascot for University of North Dakota.
Did they adopt a new one or just reject that one?
They rejected that one, but I will say this. There was pressure put on by the NCAA. The NCAA was saying you need to get rid of this or else there's going to be major penalties. So I think that a lot of people voting on this is my self-justifying way of looking at it. A lot of people voting on this probably thought, look, we want our guys and girls to be able to play whatever sports they're playing without problems with the NCAA, so we'll probably just vote on this. They don't want to make this a last
They
stand.
were thinking about the kids.
A federal case.
Yeah, they're thinking about federal case. But, I just hope this doesn't continue on because, our military calls the helicopter the Apache, for example. I hope we don't start calling it the Hummingbird. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's not take this to the next level.
When did it become bad to say that Native American symbols of heroism are bad? I mean, aren't we saying these things because they're a good thing? Like the Apache,
that's exactly
like
my point about the Apache.
Warriors.
The Apache is one of the most amazing,
Fight spirit.
aerial combat vehicles ever devised, and they call it the Apache out of respect. And, I cannot understand why people...
We're calling awesome things Native American.
Awesome things. Anyway, Fighting Sioux no longer. They're probably going to call them the, I don't know, the slugs or something boring.
Slugs. San Jose State. Banana slugs.
Really?
Yeah.
There we go.
That's
Already taken.
Taken.
Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz. They're in my ear telling me no. Santa Cruz.
Well, we're going to talk about Sweden now and how Twitter can be a bit of a menace. A woman was given a chance to briefly take over Sweden's official Twitter account, and she stirred a little bit of controversy. It's at Sweden, the official account. She started
Sweden talks at Twitter's?
Yeah,
Oh,
tweets.
wow.
Tweet. And she began posting some comments about Jewish people.
What?
Not terribly nice things. She insisted she was being humorous, but she used some crude language. She made some jokes about circumcision. It got pretty
from the official
colorful
account
from the
of
official
country.
account. Yeah, and the reactions were immediate. One tweeter, in fact, wrote, quote, "In one day, Sweden went from global Twitter superstar to PR embarrassment." Some other people were not offended at all, but this is basically part of a project that allows citizens from different walks of life to curate the account each week, and it includes people. Right here I have a female priest once did it, and a lesbian truck driver. So it's an eclectic bunch that comes on board. And
I'm going to venture this is a poorly thought out program.
Yeah, it's not, and the tweets are not pre-read. They're not censored in any way. This is just unfiltered. That would be a bad idea. I feel like that would be some snooky stuff.
Look,
coming
what
out
works
of
for
there.
IKEA maybe does not work for the Sweden official account.
That's true.
It can be funny in an IKEA commercial.
Yeah.
Not so much when you're talking for a country.
Okay, Essie.
Oh, okay. My story's awesome. National Jerky Day. Heard of it? It was yesterday. I celebrated with some Jack's Links because that is, in addition to Slim Jim. Slim Jim is my favorite meat stick. Jack's Links are
so uncomfortable.
my favorite meat snack. There is a distinction. There is a distinction between a meat stick and a meat snack, and Jack's Links. My favorite
Would you stop saying that?
snack. So in honor of Jerky Day, the folks at Jack's Links combined two of my all-time favorite things with this. It's a jerky Sasquatch. That's right. It is an all-jerky portrait of a Squatch using 16 pounds of jerky or 80 bags of Jack's snack meats. I approve.
That is genius. That's
I
amazing.
approve.
How did they affix the beef jerky?
I can't explain genius. I don't know.
The
I mean,
adhesive that
he's
they
an artiste.
Clearly.
I don't know, but I approve.
Throw out your Velvet Elvis and get one of those. All right, mine is
I would love to.
very silly, as always. You like your Sasquatch as well. I am a True Blood fan. I love vampire everything. If it involves vampires, I want to watch it. Well, I came across this story, and in Bulgaria, their history museum is going to put on display two individuals or corpses that they've just dug up. The remains of two men who were stabbed through the heart with metal rods 700 years ago to keep them from turning into vampires.
I thought it had to be a wooden stake.
Wow. That's what I thought, but
Well, that's why they
clearly
died.
the iron rod works because they were killed and didn't turn into vampires.
Romania, which is, I believe, where
Yes.
Transylvania is, going to be very upset by this. They're going to be like, this is
Yes.
our thing. They're going to put up their own little museum.
All right, well, these were archaeologists. They were excavating a monastery near the Black Sea city of Sozopol. They discovered the skeletons, which were buried in a pagan ritual, and they said it was aimed at keeping them from turning into vampires.
How do they
Clearly,
know?
the pagans knew what they were doing because, they were
No wonder we've been messing around with these wooden stakes.
wooden stick.
Does garlic work
They're
or
back,
not?
and
I
now
get
we
You know,
confused.
I'm just going to stick with the iron.
The iron,
Yeah, that seems to be
Stake
effective.
through the heart? All right.
All right, well, that's it for us tonight, but you can follow the show on Twitter at Real News GBTV, and we'll be back here tomorrow night with more Real News.